This is my review on Star Wars, full title Star Wars Episode 4, A New Hope. The first one ever made. Kind of. For anything to do with Star Wars. Fuck A New Hope. I'm just going to say, I think this is the worst Star Wars film ever next to The Phantom Menace. And The Last Jedi. Not The Return of the Jedi, The Last Jedi from the sequel trilogy, and also the last trilogy in the main continuity of the franchise. That's ever going to happen. See, Star Wars since day one was meant to be a trilogy of trilogies. Meant to be 3 trilogies. Since day one, Lucas said, so, since this one, and, I really hate this one. I can't wait till that fat dumbass George Lucas dies of a fucking heart attack. Good. Now, I can just hear so many hear certain people complaining why I hate this movie, the Star Wars movie, Star Wars 4, A New Hope. Episode 4, A New Hope is called. Star Wars Episode 4, A New Hope. Yeah. I hate the trilogy that this is connected to. Of the original, of this trilogy that's connected to Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi. That this trilogy takes place in the same timeline. Now, I was afraid to say that all those things for a while because a lot of people seem fucking reason are up their own ass and seem to like this trilogy. Fuck you. Arrogant people. Fuck you. But I'm not here to talk about the connections to the. I don't think I'm going to have time to fit. I don't think I'm going to fit this in all 3 movies in the same title of a video. So I'm just going to review one at a time. I think Star Wars Episode 4, A New Hope, is the worst thing Star Wars have ever done. Now, I don't respect it, I don't appreciate it, I don't like anything about this. Period. This movie. Got it? Good. And I don't think you should, I think those who think I should shut up and think I'm wrong and think I should appreciate this because this is what the Star Wars is going on the map. Well, technically, you're fucking wrong. This is not what got Star Wars going on the map. The original film was just called Star Wars. Star Wars Episode 4, A New Hope was the release of the re-release alternate version of the first Star Wars movie called Star Wars. The reason God retitled Star Wars Episode 4 A New Hope is because George fucking Lucas could promote and connect the universe better with Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace, and he did it with the entire original trilogy, alternate the footage from the film. That's why so many effects fell out of place with the dated effects. that look very advanced and incredible for the time. That's because those effects that look incredible aren't the original effects that were released for the original version of this movie called Star Wars, and neither was the original trilogy. And, I mean, the same goes for the rest of the trilogy. I mean, that's what I said. Yeah. Because you can only get these three fucking useless versions of a movie franchise for the original trilogy. Now, is Star Wars the only thing that has ever made alternate versions? No. No, they're not. But my God, George Lucas just made so many changes, you kind of forgot what film you were watching. If you watch them back to back, it's night and day for all three films in the original trilogy. So no, I have never reviewed the original trilogy on my YouTube channel. I reviewed all three of the original trilogy of the alternate trilogy on my YouTube channel, and nobody really fucking remembers the original trilogy. Because nobody's seen the original trilogy in years. Unless you have the original VHS copies of the release, but who watches those anymore? Nobody! Nobody really collects VHSs anymore. Sorry to break it to you, Star Wars losers, but you're prehistoric. You fans are prehistoric and extinct and going extinct. Now, that's the reason why throughout this entire trilogy, from Star Wars A New Hope to Empire Strikes Back, and also the last Return of the Jedi, all three movies, why the frames look blue, have a blue tint to them for all three movies in the original trilogy, and why the lightsabers look as good as they did when Darth Maul used lightsabers in the Phantom Menace, and why and why everything looks good. Looks like they hold up so well. It looks like they're ahead of its time. Oh, I'm just going to talk about the story. First of all, the story is about like this guy called Luke Skywalker who lives on a farm and stumbles upon some message from this girl called Princess Leia that's out and asks for Obi-Wan Kenobi for help, and gets attacked by these stormtroopers, and this guy called Darth Vader kidnaps her and tries to torture her, captures a prisoner. Luke frees her, then goes on a run after making friends with Luke. Luke makes friends with new friends with Leia and Han Solo and C-3PO and R2-D2, and also he's become a new mentor. He also become a new Padawan for Obi-Wan Kenobi, who's doesn't go by Obi-Wan Kenobi but goes by Ben Kenobi, even though Leia for some reason calls him Obi-Wan Kenobi. So let that all sink in. And also, this guy Greedo shoots and this guy Greedo gets shot by after shooting Han, Gets shot by Han. Blah blah blah. You know, I'm not going to even bother. You know, this I'm only at the end of the film. So we like blah blah blah. He meets up with the Resistance. Blah blah blah. They all meet up with the rest of the Resistance. Luke and his new friends, and take out the Death Star. After Obi-Wan lets Vader kill him, kill Obi-Wan, and he turns into dust, I guess. He's so old, he turned into dust. Well, clearly that's what happens when we reach a certain age, right? We turn into air once we get slaughtered with any type of weapon. We turn into poof, we pop like a balloon, and all of us left out is our clothing. Because that happens. Sure. Ever seen your grandpa or grandma or your father or mother or older brother reach a certain age and pop like a balloon and all of it was left with their clothing on the floor? Clearly that makes fucking sense. That's not why we cremate. That's not why we have coffins or carrots or funerals or wake or cremate people. We just do that for the fun of it in the real world. Because we're gruesome bastards. No, the real way, natural way to die is to pop like a balloon into thin air and nothing be left, not your own fucking skeleton be left on the ground. The only thing left of you is your clothes that you wore on your body in the moment when you died. And I love how Vader, after killing Obi-Wan, he seems kind of confused. Maybe Kenobi used that trick that Luke used in The Last Jedi, where he's got killed, where he is using the Force to create a hologram version of himself, a copy of him, a clone of himself that's basically this, Force air and particles and stuff. And maybe that the whole, he just had a heart attack or something far away and was with Luke and Leia and Han Solo in spirit. Well, that kind of sounds weird when you think about it. That sounds like he's a real pussy. So probably he died on Tatooine, where Luke lived and never left the cave or the planet, and probably just died on the planet, copying his Force atoms into the Force and help them in spirit, just to guide them. Because that's exactly what Luke Skywalker did in The Last Jedi. He ended up dying, becoming one with the Force, so probably that's what Ben Kenobi did, right? I don't fucking know, I'm just guessing based off the concrete world building from the past, from later films within this world. You know, this scene didn't bother me quite as much in the original version of film, the one called Star Wars, probably because that movie was really had kind of low production effects and sets. Has sort of like a B-movie quality to it. In fact, that's exactly what the original version was. A low-budget B-movie that somehow got loved by many people when they went to the theaters. Luke Skywalker, Mark Hamill said it himself that this first Star Wars movie called Star Wars, the original cut of the film that got released before the alternate version got released, was actually the most expensive low budget film he ever worked on at the time. When it was being shot and worked on it. So yeah, the first Star Wars film was a low budget movie. Not the not the alternate trilogy. No, those reason why. Yeah, those not. Those got polished with modern effects. So when you see the shitty effects and cheap set designs and odd attention to detail in the costumes that look cheap, because it does. Everything that wasn't polished and added in the film that was already there in the original cut of the film was called Star Wars. Well, this is exactly why it looks out of place, because you got all these added shots. In every shot, you got all these added effects in shots that had money behind it. Well, the original shots, whatever you didn't change, doesn't have that much money behind it. Because the original cut of the film is a low budget of film that didn't have that much money made into it and invested into the movies. Yes, a lot of, George Clooney, for the time when he was working on it, did believe in the film. The reason I say for the time he did believe in the film is because he's the asshole that made the alternate trilogy after the original trilogy got made and released on VHS after getting released in the theaters. Because he said he hated the original cuts of the film, of the original trilogy. That's why he made the alternate trilogies. So he also said that he doesn't plan on re-releasing the original cuts of the film, the unaltered versions of the film, the ones that are basically a living legend at this point. A myth, practically. Something that's been forgotten about by next generation after next generation after next generation. And soon, nobody will remember them. They'll think that the alternate trilogy are the original movies. And they're not they don't have that much look, they don't look that much so similar. Because, yeah, the story changes and, but the effects are always inconsistent because scenes don't really fit in there. The ones that were added, probably because you use way too much money for the added things, George. From the original trilogy of the alternate trilogy. Why would he do that? I don't know, because he's an idiot. Or he's so far up his own ass. Or both. Yep. So yeah, the meetup was resistance. As I mentioned they destroy the Death Star, and after Ben Kenobi dies, and guys Luke from beyond the grave tell him to use the Force to blow up the Death Star, and they're now honorary heroes, all three of them. Leia, Luke, and Han, and they save the galaxy-ish. Supposedly, until the sequel. I mean, I think, yeah, I think so. It seems like everyone was at peace and celebrating for some reason, but, did they save the galaxy? I'm confused, or did they just save the day? Is this so, I mean, you know, I give this a 0 out of 10. I don't I don't like this, so yeah. Fucking New Hope. You know, usually when people make alternate versions, they don't try to be so fucking obvious that it's not the same cut of the movie. George. Nor do they really, and you also don't usually say that I hate the original cut and I like the alternate version of the cut of the movie and I despise every second because it's not true to my original vision. Like the alternate trilogy was for the original trilogy. George, you know? That's pretty stupid. This film is not a film. It's a fucking mess what it is. It's literally a George Lucas wet dream that he shat out of his ass. And calls it art. And calls it good. Calls it quality. Calls it a vision. Well, fuck you, you fat fuck, George. If you're watching this, go fuck yourself. Oh, wait. You already did because you made this movie. This is your fucking wet dream, isn't it? Why you like the alternate trilogy so much. I'm glad Disney owns Star Wars and you don't. Yeah, I said it, fans. Too bad if you hate it. Fuck you if you think George Lucas could do better, because even he could do better, just like he would just do it for one trilogy, then he would change everything in the other sequel trilogy. Or he would do one time, or for 3 movies. Because you remember Phantom Menace? You wanna know he changed in that one? When it got re-released? You remember how Yoda was a puppet in the Phantom Menace and everyone didn't really complain that much because he looks younger? Well, when it got released for I think to fit in more with the rest of the ones that came after the prequel trilogy, he made the decision to have that puppet Yoda completely removed from the film and replaced with CGI ass ugly Yoda. For the Phantom Menace. Something tells me you better pray he dies soon. And dies a horrible, quick, painful death. Because here's what I think is going to happen. When he releases the original trilogy again, in an alternate form, he's probably going to make Yoda and both movies he appeared in for the original trilogy 100% CGI, baby. And it'll look so out of place, so horrifying, so look like the stuff made out of fucking nightmares. You probably want to throw yourself out of a fucking window. Because of all these unnecessary changes. When does it end? Look, I'm going to live with you. I love the original. I enjoyed the, I really enjoyed the original Star Wars trilogy, the unalternate cuts of the film. But you see, I can't really get them now, can I? On streaming service, or Blu-ray, or DVD, because they don't exist for those formats, do they? Those options, and nobody else can get them unless you get the original releases on VHS of the copies of VHSs for each film. Why does that have to be that way? Fuck Star Wars, fuck Star Wars. Oh, I just hate it. I hate this. I hate this world. I hate the fact we have to live in a world where these abominations exist. For majority of people worldwide, everywhere. And that's the only one people can get their hands on. And it fucks up the... It's not really... It's like, it's stuff over storytelling. Just stuff these alternate versions are. Stuff! Okay. Now I'm viewing shit.